Alright, hello and welcome to the video, guys. So we're going to be taking a look at the Grille 15 today, and this tank, man, it's not one of my favorites. I will just say that, but I don't play it right. At least I didn't at first, and I think that's part of the problem. This tank cannot be played like the two tanks that come before it. It's very different. It has a lot more mobility, but no camo. And compare that to the RHM and the Waffle Panzer, it's almost the opposite, right? Like the RHM has even more camo than the Waffle Panzer. Waffle Panzer, not so much. Waffle Panzer has a little bit more mobility and a little less camo. But then you get to the Grille 15, and I'm telling you, man, I'll just let you guys watch my game kind of as I'm talking here. This tank cannot, I repeat, cannot be played like the RHM and the Waffle Panzer, the WT Alf Panzer IV, right? You cannot play this vehicle like that. You have to, I mean, you can at the start of the battle, right? You can snipe people and stuff, you can do that, but because you cannot turn the turret more than 50 degrees each way, which, by the way, I did not know this. I did not know until I got this vehicle that the turret did not turn. I thought it at least turned 90 degrees, but it does not. It only turns 50 degrees. So when you're looking at this thing, this tank will only go like this. It's got a very, very wide arc, but keep in mind that you cannot like back out and shoot like you can in the Waffle Panzer, and I think that's why I like the Waffle Panzer so much more. We're going to go on to Tanks GG after this, and we'll compare them real quick. It might take me a minute just to get them kind of set up, because I didn't plan to show you this, but I did do this yesterday, and I'm going to show you why I prefer the Waffle Panzer over the Grille. However, once you kind of know how to play this vehicle and you know how to use its mobility, because that's what you have to do. I don't know if I've said this, I've kind of hinted at it, but you almost have to play this thing like a gnat. You know, I hate to say it. You can't just sit in a bush and be, you know, a bushwanker, as Skill likes to call it. You can't do that. It's not the way it works in this vehicle. In the RHM and the Waffle Panzer, you can do that because the concealment is really good, and you can turn the turret, you know, 360, so it works a lot better. But with this vehicle, what you kind of have to do, and you might not see it much in this game, because this is, when I first got the tank, it was one of the best games that I had in the vehicle when I first got the tank, and didn't really know how to use its mobility. Since then, I've put Bounty Turbo on this vehicle, and how you need to play this thing, guys, when I finally get into it, is use its mobility. You have to kind of like, you can see I literally almost flip over here. Look at this, man. This is a pro play. But luckily we were able to flip ourselves back over. But how you have to play this thing is you have to be very mobile with it. Now, in this game, I didn't really need to do that. I got pretty lucky because I had all these shots in front of me. But what I should have done, I should have already been in this area with the trees. You have to play this thing, you know, I don't know how to describe it like simply, but you really almost have to like dive in and dive out of certain areas. You got to run somewhere, use your mobility to get the better angle, maybe side plates or something like that, and then move again. Shoot and move, shoot and move. It's like a hit and run kind of play style. Very different than the Waffle Panzer. You know, you can kind of hang out in a certain area for a while if you have the shots, but I honestly think, like, if I were to play this again right now, I would already be moving somewhere else, because likely, like, the E3 is going to get flanked. I would probably be now here again, waiting for someone to push the E3 instead of being here, so that way I wouldn't get spotted by like AMX. I would take one more shot and I would run again. And this is how you have to play it, man, because you can't turn the turret. It has no concealment, right? And you can't turn the turret. So you have to get yourself into an area where you know you can take shots, and then towards the end of the game, guys, what you need to do is use your mobility and start running straight at the enemy. Because with this vehicle, you have 750 alpha, and nobody is going to want to take that. They see the Grille and they go, oh, you know, they're like, crap, man, like, I don't want to take a 750 from this guy, especially in the end game when they may only have 1,000 HP. And look at this, I basically have deleted all this guy's health with one shot. So you need to use the tank to scare people, basically. Towards the end of the battle, if you can get to hard cover, like say it was just the E5 and maybe one other vehicle over here, I'd be running this way and putting my gun like right here. Like I'd be right here with the CS-59, waiting for these guys to come around the corner. And that's how you have to play it. The aiming time is really, really good on this thing. However, when you move the gun, the dispersion, like, it bounces around a lot. So, in my opinion, this tank works great as a sniper, but in the end game, opposite of the RHM and Waffle Panzer, when you're sitting in a bush way in the back, you actually need to put your gun in the fight with the Grille and get up into the front lines and be willing to sacrifice some HP, because nobody at tier 10, well, some other vehicles have 750 Alpha, right? You also have the Jagdpanzer, you have the FV4005, but most heavies and most other vehicles do not have an Alpha of 750. In fact, the light tanks don't even come close to it. So what you have to do is you have to be willing to trade towards the end of the game and use your HP. So that's how to play this thing, guys. I didn't realize that at first, so I really wasn't playing this thing to its full potential, and I was complaining because I'm like, dude, I don't understand, like, this thing is garbage after coming from the Waffle Panzer. But it's because it requires a very different playstyle, guys. And you can see here how I'm getting whacked by the TNH. I got spotted by the AMX, like, through a couple bushes. This thing has no concealment, so if somebody with CVS is going to come around the corner, well, you're going to have a problem, right? So you have to really be mobile in this vehicle, and you have to learn how to just use its mobility and use its super accurate aiming, like gun and aiming time, to your advantage. So you run up into certain areas, you smack a shot into someone, and you keep moving, man. It's almost like the Kanonen Jagdpanzer in a way. And once I started playing it similar to the Kanonen Jagdpanzer, where I'm constantly moving around to get better angles, that's when I started playing this vehicle better. I was hardly averaging 2,000 damage, and then I played this thing last night after looking at the forums and people saying you need to use its mobility, you need to use its mobility, and I went up to like 2,200 average damage or something like that within a couple games. So I could have just been lucky, but I really think that's how you have to play this thing. Now, of course, I played it in this game. I played it just like the RHM or something like that, and it worked out, you know, in this game in particular. So I figured I would show you this one and just kind of talk to you guys about how to play this vehicle, because I'm not a tank destroyer player, right? I play lights, and they all kind of have a similar play style, but there are certain vehicles in this game, like the Grille 15, that require a very unique kind of play style. And I know I sound like a broken record, but you have to learn a tank's play style if you're going to play it well. It's the same thing with the Samua SM. I've been having an issue with that tank as well, and I'm not great at playing support heavies. Like, I kind of got the idea of how to play it using the T95, a support heavy or something like that. But those tanks can be very tricky, and I don't have a lot of experience playing them. I really don't have a lot of experience playing any other vehicle except light tanks. So this is kind of a learning experience for me as well. And what I find is the more I play a vehicle, the more I kind of learn that even in certain classes, vehicles have different playstyles. This plays very different than literally the same exact tanks at Tier 8 and Tier 9, right? Because that's all they really are. I mean, this Grille is just an upgrade in one, you know, tree, and you would think all the tanks would play the same, but they don't. So it's kind of a weird thing, but that is how you have to play this vehicle, guys. And yeah, like, see, with this Leo here, I probably would just run down right now and take another shot from him and join like the AMX-13. But instead, I'm trying to play it like, you know, kind of different here and get the shot like this, rather than just running after this guy. Like, this is not what to do, right? This is an example of what not to do. You want to use the mobility to get, you know, up and to this guy, and fortunately that ricochets, but this is what happens, right? So now I'm a one-shot to this guy. I could have instead been all the way up here and have already shotgunned the crap out of this dude, and we would have been good to go. But this is kind of why you need to play this thing different, because I'm telling you, it's just weird, man. Like, the way the gun works with the 50-degree angle left and right, and also the traverse speed. So I know that they were going to kill this already, so I decided to drown myself, guys. But and there you go, right there. We might take a, here you go. Watch this. Let's use this as the thumbnail. I need some sky for the writing. There we go. Okay, so we're going to get into the end plates, guys, but hopefully you can see what I mean in with this vehicle, right? It's a very unique kind of tank, and you have to use its mobility, man. I'm telling you, it's just the way it kind of works. You can't, it's rare for you to have these kinds of games because you don't have the concealment. And I was gonna add before we went and ran into the water there and drowned ourselves. I was going to add the tank turns like a boat too. So you can't, it's just very difficult to like maneuver the tank in a way to be able to sit in a bush and constantly, fire because it has a tiny bit more gun depression than the Waffle Panzer, but still it's not enough to really be like a true tank destroyer and sit like all the way in the back like the STRVs do. You just can't do it. So it works better running to hard cover, finding these little areas that you can get to when your team starts losing one side of the map, and then what you can do is kind of back out at an angle like this. Like say you have a building right here, you can just back out like this or back out like this because of the way the gun works, right? That it doesn't turn all the way. You take your shot, you back up, you slam a shot to someone because this thing is a cannon, man. It sounds so cool when it fires, and then you pull forward again, and that's how you have to play it. So anyway, this was a second class game. We did 5k damage, guys. It was pretty fun to watch. I would hope for you. And yeah, we were top by damage here, I guess third by experience or whatever. And this tank, even 5k damage, like you're not top by experience, right? So that's another thing. Like this thing, I'm averaging 2,000, almost 2,100 damage after this particular battle, and I'm like, what the heck am I doing wrong in this vehicle? And I think this is what I'm doing wrong, guys. Is I'm just trying to play it like an STRV or something, and you can't do that. You need to use its mobility and scare the bejesus out of people with the 750 Alpha and trade. Be willing to trade, right? So we fired 13 shots, we hit 10, we penned 9, and by the way, the gun accuracy on this vehicle is very trollish. So if you look at the way I have it set up, right? So I'm running this with, I switched optics for Bounty Turbo, but I'm still running it with the improved rotation mechanism and also rammer. And I only have concealment over here. That's about it. And the snapshot and smooth ride. But if you take a look at the dispersion values. Dispersion values are good. However, it control you. I'm telling you, like the gun accuracy is very trollish. And here, gun traverse limits 50-50. So keep in mind, like this is how this vehicle works, man. But look at the aiming time. That's the most important thing, guys. Look at the aiming time. And I'm telling you, like, it's very snappy, it's very quick when you get close to people. That's how you have to play this thing. The only other thing that really sucks about it is the heats. Like, I'm not a fan of heat because of the shell velocity and the fact that you really need flat armor to be able to pen. But it is what it is. The pen is like 330 something on the heats, which isn't awful. And the APs are like 279 or something like that. So it's not awful, but I'm not the biggest fan of it, I will be honest with you guys. But here we go. Let's take a look at this. So if I throw up the Grille 15 here, and we compare this with the Tier 9 TD Waffentrager. Okay, so take a look. I think I need to do this compare. I think we need to do it like this. So we go to TD, go to Tier 9. We take a look at the Waffentrager, guys. Save that, and then we add our Grille. And I'm going to show you why you need to play this thing so different, right? So we're just going to use this everything standard. Like you can set up the tank to be the way you want it to be, but when you're comparing the vehicles, if you are fully setting up both of them, you're increasing both of their stats, right? So looking at the base stats to me is basically the same thing. I mean, you could load them out and see the true stats, but this is just for comparison purposes, so keep that in mind. The pen on the standards is 279 here, 246 to the Waffle, but you get 355 millimeters. So we are actually going to change this just so I can show you. I use this particular gun, the 560 gun, and you could use these rounds. So with armor piercing rounds, you're getting 352 millimeters of pen out of this one and 279 out of the Grille. But the Grille does more damage. It actually also does more module damage. The reload time is something to note as well. So I think that's why I like the Waffle Panzer more overall. It's because the DPM is much better. The reload time is obviously much better. That makes the DPM better. And well, also depending on the damage it deals, but you guys know what I'm saying. So I actually like the Waffle Panzer because I'm obsessed with APCR rounds. I love APCRs. So that's one thing, but look at also the gun handling. Look at the mobility. So we're going to go through all this, guys. Look at the aim time difference. So you're looking at the Grille. Look at that aim time, man. The dispersion, like this is ridiculous compared to the Waffle. Like it's extremely accurate, at least on paper, right? And then when you go to the gun traverse, you have to obviously pay attention to this. And then the gun depression on the Waffle sucks, but if you back it up, if you like back in to take shots, you can kind of manage it usually. And then, okay, here's the biggest thing. Look at the mobility. So forward speed on the Waffle is 38. And again, this is without turbo. This is just base tank, right? You have 60 top speed on the Grille. Now, it takes a little while to get up to that top speed, but just look at the difference, guys, in the weight or power to weight ratio, the forward speed, even like the resistance here is much better on the Grille. Look at the engine power, like just look at everything going on here. The power to weight ratio will really say it all, but this is what you need to pay attention to with this vehicle. It obviously has no armor, a little bit more hit points because it's tier 10 and all, and I think that's about it other than the camo, guys. So now take a look at the camo. Stationary 15, stationary 7. After firing 2.4, 0.83. Moving 9.4. Moving 4.73. So hopefully I've made my point very clear in this video, and I've showed you guys kind of how this vehicle needs to be manipulated in a way, right? So that's it, a 5k damage game, guys, but I figured I would show you this tank since I just picked it up, and I wasn't enjoying myself very much. Look at this, 37% win rate, 2084 average damage. Compare that to a 53% win rate in the Waffle and almost 2,500 damage. So this thing is a DPM monster, the Waffle. You might not be able to see that with the camera. Let me see if I can move this over a little bit. So we have 37% win rate here. I think you guys probably could see this, but maybe not the Waffle. 2493 damage, 53% win rate, and just like look at this, man. Look at the difference between the two tanks. For me, I know we've only played 19 battles. We might be a little lucky in this vehicle, but I think this says it all, man. And I wasn't enjoying myself at all, guys. So here you go. Anyway, here's Grille 15, and hope you enjoyed the video, guys. I will catch you for the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.